Okay, so now that we have all of our dependencies installed and everything's kind of set up, we're going to go ahead and start testing the API out with SOAP UI and Postman. And then from there, we'll move on to the code in the next video. So let's get started by just visiting the WSDL file. If you remember, we talked about that a little bit before, and essentially the WSDL file, WSDL file, breaks down the functions and the usability of the SOAP XML API. It's kind of like documentation on the XML API. So in our case, we're going to do the temperature conversion API from W3 Schools. So I'm going to go ahead and visit that site. Links will be in the description. And then we're going to go ahead and go to service description. The service description is going to take us to the WSDL file. This WSDL file breaks down all the functions. Celsius to Fahrenheit, there should be Fahrenheit to Celsius. And as you can see, it is a little difficult to read because it's all XML based and it's a lot of information here. And to be honest, a lot of not so useful information for us because it's a pretty simple program. So to make this a little easier to use, we're going to go ahead and open up SOAP UI. You can close that up. There'll be a little prompt that comes up. Just close out of that prompt. We're going to go ahead and go to File, New SOAP Project, Project Name, let's call it Temp Conversion. Now, we're going to go ahead and grab that WSDL URL that W3 Schools gives us here. And we're just going to paste it in here. And this is just going to, it's going to pretty much do everything for us. It's going to break down our functions here. So you see, Celsius to Fahrenheit, Fahrenheit to Celsius. And if we open this one up, Celsius to Fahrenheit, it gives us an example request. And that's pretty cool, because now we don't have to write all this and figure this out. We're just going to go ahead, as you can see, we're going to pass a value of Celsius. And that should do a post request to this URI. And we'll get a response that's similar to this, but it should give us back a Fahrenheit. And there we go. We got Celsius to Fahrenheit result. That's our response. And our value is 71.6. Perfect. When we get into coding, we're going to go ahead and parse this out and get that number out of there. Just to kind of touch on this a little further, we're going to move on to Postman. And we're going to try this out in Postman. This will give us a better understanding of kind of what's going on. So let's go ahead and just create a new one here. Alright, enter in our URL. Now, if you guys want to take a second and guess what URL we're going to want to enter into here, I'll give you a hint. The WSDL file is just for documentation. Okay, so what we're going to want to do is grab this ASMX, because remember, that's where we're making our post request to. Pull that up in Postman. Change this to a post request, because remember, we have to post our XML, and then it performs the action on the API side and sends us a response. So we're going to go to body. We're going to specify raw XML, and this is what we're going to post to W3 Schools ASMX. Now we open SOAP UI. We can grab our little example that SOAP UI gave us, and we can just pass that in here. And 22. Now we're also going to want, just like a JSON API, you're going to want to specify the content type we're expecting here. Alright, text /XML. Remember, it's a SOAP XML API, so it only makes sense that our content type would be text XML. Alright, now we're passing in raw XML. We're going to make a post request. Hit send here. And we get an error. And this error is just occurring because we're not hitting the right URL. Even though SOAP UI is hitting this URL and it's working, Postman is not able to. So we're going to try to hit the HTTPS version of this. This is secure connection. And voila, there we go. 71.6, we got our response. And we can just keep testing this out and go like 44 degrees Celsius and get 111 back. And if you want to go a little further, we can go ahead and check out Fahrenheit to Celsius instead. It would be the same thing. Instead of passing a number for Celsius, we're going to pass a number for Fahrenheit. We'll pass 22 again. Hit that run button. We get negative 5.5555. And again, you just grab this URL. We could take it to Postman. Remember, we're doing a post request. Oh, that's ugly. Obviously didn't get the URL. That's alright. I'm just going to Okay, so go ahead and just grab that URL. And go ahead and test this one out too. Looks like it's the same URL, right? So, because all the functions will exist on the same endpoint there. And we will grab our XML for our post request. And remember, we're just trying Fahrenheit here instead of Celsius. And we'll pass 22. We should get the same response, which is negative. Double check our header. Text XML, body, everything looks good. We're doing HTTPS, post request. Voila. Alright, we've successfully tested our API. We just need to move on to writing it into practical code and displaying that to our end user. We'll do that next time.